fam. Back.
What's good? What's good? Welcome to another episode of 4133, the podcast. We back, man. Friday. We talking birds. Another week in the books, man. And it's almost time to face off with the wild card weekend. So, Nick, how you feeling, bro? Welcome back.
Oh man, appreciate you having me back again. I'm very excited. How many people get to say that they're going to see their two favorite teams win two playoff games in one weekend? I don't know very many people that can say that. So it's an exciting weekend for me, but what about for you?
I'm good, man. Shakita, shout out to my sis, man. Hopefully the baby's doing well. Hey, man, the baby's gonna get to experience his first playoff win on Sunday. All right, let's get it. Nah, I'm feeling good, man. I mean, there's a lot of controversy of what people want to make up, or the agendas they want to push about AJ Brown's knee, or Devontae being out today, or the worry and panic of Jalen Hurts if returning. It's a lot on the table today. It's a lot on the table, but uh, ultimately, I think all 22 gonna be on the field for the first time in a long time. Um, I think it's wartime, man. I mean, I'm really excited. I mean, I've been, I made a little hype video myself. I sent it to you earlier. I just been kind of scrolling. I wish it was Sunday today. To be honest, I
Yeah.
wish we would. I wish when we, what I mean, we was coming on here the post game it at this point. But no, I'm feeling good, man. I think uh, it's a good matchup. I think we match up well against the Green Bay Packers. So I'm ready to see. I'm ready to see it, man. I'm locked and loaded. How do you feel about this matchup, though? I mean, you got a
Yeah.
chance to look at it a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, number one, I mean, we got to talk a little bit about, the fact that they have gotten all 22 to the playoffs healthy for the most part. AJ's a little banged up, Devontae's a little banged up, but that's just football at this point in time. Everyone's going to be banged up to some degree, right? And I think that's a big reason why you do rest starters last week is because of the fact that a lot of these guys haven't had rest in so long that you want to get these guys as rested and prepared for the playoffs as possible. So, but ultimately, at the end of the day, looking at this matchup, the Packers are a tough team. You look at them top to bottom, they have a good roster all the way around. They're dealing with some injuries, obviously, with Christian Watson out for the year, Jair Alexander out for the year as well. That's definitely going to have an impact in the game, but they have good players on their offensive line, their defensive line, linebacker core, running backs, safeties. So, and you look at their metrics on both sides of the ball, top five or top six in almost every major statistical category. So this team isn't any slouch. I think there's a reason why a lot of us wanted to see or didn't want to face the Commanders in the first round. We would have rather played a team like the Commander. Excuse me, didn't want to play the Packers in the first round. We wanted to see a team like the Commanders because even though they have a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, their roster top to bottom just isn't comparable to some of these other teams in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, the Eagles are favorites for a reason. They have a better team top to bottom. They have 6 All Pros on their team. Green Bay had 1. They arguably could have had some more All Pros when you think about it. But I do expect a victory, and it'll probably be close. The heart rate will probably be up throughout the game, but it'll be fun, and that's what the playoffs are about.
Yeah, I'm prepared for the heart rate because yeah, I don't know, man. I get that weird energy like I'm playing again. Like I got my helmet and my pads on and with the TV. Like I feel like I'm finna step out in the field. Did you hear Makai Becton how he like I get butterflies before every game before the first punch? Like it's almost like that for me. Like until I see like the first play, I'm like, come on now, we gotta do it. We gotta, and then it's like, all right, I'm cool. All right, I'm calm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's a lot of that anticipation, right? And I would get the same way before I played football games. I'd always be so nervous before the first play. But then once that first play happens, it's like you just get back into the groove again, right? But unfortunately, it's like we can't get out there and get that first play. So I'm just sitting there nervous the whole time. I don't get that action. to kind of calm me down. I'm just sitting there having no control over the outcome, right? So I do sit there nervous a little bit, but
That's the part that
especially
sucks
for
the
the
most.
yeah, right. Especially for the first round too, though. It's like it's one of these things. We've had such a good year. Like the absolute worst thing would be to get bounced in the first round. You know what I'm saying? After missing out on Saquon getting the record and then getting 14 wins and then having to deal with people talking all off season. This is like a big one that you want to make sure you win. Obviously, you want to win every game. You know what I'm saying? But you definitely don't want to get bounced in the first round and get embarrassed on your home field.
I'm more confident. I think a lot of people perceive us to be at this moment. I just don't like. I look at it perspective, right? It's always 2020. Yeah, that everybody's changed, everybody's progressed from week 1 to week 17. But when I look at like how the Green Bay Packers play football compared to how they played us the first week, they plan into like what I feel like is Vic Fangio's game plan. I feel like he wants to get you pressing the run, and then he gets you behind the sticks. And now where his defense come in best is confusing the eyes of the quarterback, making the pitcher a little muddy, forcing you into a turnover or into a sack, which gives her the ball back. Like I feel like what they need to do best, Vic Fangio can take it away. I've seen him take it away from multiple teams. And I really do believe Christian Watson as the decoy receiver puts a lot of stress on your secondary. They got to play a little bit further back, and that's when you get the Jayden Reed, the Dobbs, the check down to the running back. Like where they get into the game plan is when everybody's going one way, and then Jordan Love can make his pick of who's the guy, because they do spread the ball a lot. You're not going to see it predominantly. Hey, this is the guy we're targeting because we're giving him 5 or 6 or 7 targets a game. No, it might even change from quarter to quarter. They might be keying in on trying to get Jayden Reed the ball. It's not working. They come out, Josh Jacobs, and then they play action you, get you funneling in, and they try to go over the top with a Dobbs or a Wicks, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, Wicks is the red zone guy, right?
I mean, honestly, they mix it up with all the receivers when you look at situationally, just total targets overall, red zone, third down. It's all pretty even. But Wicks is a guy that has more touchdowns on their team than and more targets. I think he has the most targets on the team in the red zone. Tucker Kraft is up there too. He has 7 touchdowns on the team. He leads the team actually in receiving touchdowns. It's just, I mean, you mentioned it. They just spread the ball around so much that it's because they don't have that guy, that go-to guy, that Jamar Chase on their team. It does make it a little bit harder to game plan for them, right? When a quarterback is willing to spread the ball out and give it to everybody, it's a little bit harder to game plan. But they don't have guys that are, I mean, Jayden Reed can definitely take one to the house, but outside of him, it's like Dotavian Wicks can get open, but he's not a guy that's getting many house calls. Same with Romeo Dobbs. They don't have that kind of juice and burst, so they don't have that take the top off of your defensive ability. They really needed that from Christian Watson. When you look at the stats from when he was on the field versus when they were off the field, it's night and day difference. It's really like that Deshaun Jackson effect. Even though there was games when Deshaun Jackson would get like 3 targets a game and not do a whole lot, it's his presence on the field that would open up everything else for the rest of the team. And you look at the Packers' numbers, whether it's yards per attempt against man coverage, their explosive route rate with Christian Watson on the field versus off the field. There's a bunch of different stuff that he brings to the offense that makes it harder to defend them. And then you made a good point about what Vic Fangio does well is when they can take away the run and force you to pass. That is one of the weaknesses of the Packers as well. When you look at them on third down, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I talked about it in the schematic preview that I dropped yesterday. When you can get this team into third down, their numbers really start to drop when they're not able to do all of that motion, all of the funky stuff that they do, the Matt LaFleur offense does to distract guys with eye candy and whatnot. And they have to go into a typical drop back passing attack. They don't really have the weapons that are going to threaten you too often. And Jordan Love can be pretty inaccurate at times. He can get hot and make some amazing plays and incredible throws, but he can also go cold pretty easily as well. So he's a little bit streaky like that. So if they can stop the run, that's probably the biggest thing. Stopping the run, putting them into long down and distance situations, I think they can win there.
Sleepless Mike has a question. He said, "Would you feel better for a linebacker or a safety covering Tucker Craft in the red zone?"
Well, it's gonna be. It depends on what they're gonna do in the red zone. I mean, I'd feel better with the safety guarding Tucker Craft. They're just better, uh,
It'll
generally
probably be CJ.
linebackers.
If
Yeah,
it'll,
I mean, it depends on how they try and get, how the Packers try and game plan which safety they want to attack. You typically see CJ playing the field side more often, so they may try and attack CJ that way. But so assuming man coverage, I mean, I'd rather go with the safety. I mean, they're going to be better, better in coverage. I think CJ's a good in coverage when he's playing with good eye discipline. He gets into trouble when he starts getting his eyes back to the quarterback too quickly, and then he loses guys late. He has good coverage ability when he's locked in and he's focused, but he ends up with 6 interceptions this year and six the in 2022. Part of that, there's a reason for that, and he is a little bit willing to take risks and be a little bit undisciplined, trying to go after interceptions. So sometimes that works, sometimes you get burned by it. But in terms of who do I want covering craft man coverage, I'd rather be CJ than as opposed to N'Kobe or Zach Bond. I do wonder if they are going to. Well, we've seen this in the past from Fangio when they are playing man coverage in the red zone. They take that middle post safety and they usually bracket somebody. Sometimes it could be a star matchup that they want to take away, like a Jamar Chase or Mike Evans, or it could be based on formation. Do we want to take the first crossing route? Do we want to take the guy in the slot? Do we want to bracket that guy? It changes team to team and by game plan. I do feel like they're probably going to want to try and take away Tucker Craft and the red zone and live with everyone else beating them.
Okay, so obviously in the first game, Jaden Reed over 100 yards. He had pretty much an elite game in that game, right? Obviously, a lot of those plays came against a guy that won't be on the field in Devontae Maddox. What do you think? What do you think Cooper DeJean brings to that nickel spot that maybe frustrates their offense?
Well, I think the thing that he brings and he brought right away over Maddox was just an understanding of the defense where he needed to fit, especially in run fits. That was a big issue for Maddox. Um, Communication. That's the stuff that Cooper DeJean is really good at. Is knowing his role on the defense, knowing where he needs to fit in, playing his assignment. I think he does that really well. When you go back and look in that game, the Jaden Reed game, the first game, that big play that they gave up was really a blown coverage where it probably should have been N'Kobe Dean that was taking the three receiver up across the field. And it's just part of that, what we saw through the first 4 weeks of the season, a lot of missed assignments in that game. And that included in the run fits as well. It wasn't just N'Kobe. There's other guys that were lacking in other parts of that game. So I think it really comes down to what we've seen from this team and this since the bye week is just good communication, leveraging and passing off the routes properly to their help defenders. If you can do that, I think that can take away Jaden Reed. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think they'll be much better. Both teams are especially defensively. Both teams are better than what they were in week one. You look at the Packers; they didn't have Edgerrin Cooper hardly played in week one, and he got an All-Pro vote this year. I believe he got an All-Pro vote this year as a rookie. And then Evan Williams at safety, a rookie as well. He's a really good safety. He made some really impressive plays as a rookie as well. He didn't play in that game either. Just overall, and you got to remember that the Green Bay defense was playing with a new defensive coordinator as well. So both teams were in similar situations trying to learn new defenses. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game than we saw in the first game. I think we're going to see more disciplined play all around from the Eagles, from their linebackers to their back end, even the front line as well. So it'll be interesting to see this matchup again, though.
I think it's going to be lower scoring for one side.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. For sure.
I think the biggest thing for me from Coop is play recognition. What's going on in front of him? He trusts what he sees. He calls it out, and then he gets in position quick. it's not like to me it felt like Avonte Maddox was a lot of the time just confused on what was going on and where he should go on the field. Like I seen a play, it was really confusing to me. He's playing obviously slot, Quinion's playing outside, it's a dude inside, dude outside. Dude outside is obviously you can see he's coming inside. Dude outside is going outside. And I see Avonte Maddox jumping. He jumps outside, takes him up. Now Quinion is stuck in a bad spot where the receiver gets open. It's an easy play. Same play maybe 5 weeks later with Coop. Coop's at the line. Quinion, it's like the same stack. He looks at Q and he says, he points at the guy in front of him, like, hey, you taking him and I'm taking him because I know he's coming inside. And it's a PBU. And it's like, that's the type of like things that were going on with the busted coverage, like you said. Maybe Nakobe Dean was supposed to go, but Avonte Maddox was also in the wrong spot. So now Nakobe is like, do I void this whole big space where Avonte should be, or should I continue to backpedal and get more depth on my drop so he can't throw over the top of it? Nakobe kind of meets it in the middle. He's like, I'm gonna drop a little bit, but I'm also gonna stay where I can read and react. And Avonte's nowhere in the screen. It's like your guy's going across the field. You're not here to cover the flat, so I can't cover the back. If I move back any further, they're just gonna check it down to that running back that's sitting there. He's gonna get 25 because Avonte Maddox can't tackle either.
Yeah, and when we look back at Maddox, like you look back at that Super Bowl, there was a number of plays where everyone wanted to say, "Oh, this is Gannon's fault. This is Gannon's fault." But when you're man coverage against a guy and he's motioning across the field, you can't just automatically run across the field. You still have to keep your eyes on him and make sure that he's not reversing back, right? Some of those plays continue to show up even the next year when he got to play early in that Patriots game in Week 1. There was a lot of miscommunication with him and Darius Slay. Was it on Slay? Was it on Maddox? We won't know if we're not in the locker room and the meeting room, right? But you see that stuff carry over several years now, and it really just became a bad trend. And it's unfortunate because he's a veteran player, right? And he was making rookie mistakes, and then Cooper DeJean comes in, and like you talked about, him communicating, whether he's pointing at a guy, doing the head taps, letting guys know, communicating verbally and physically with his players around him. Another good example of Maddox not communicating, and I think this one was on Maddox, but you look at the Ravens game, they came out in dime early in the game, and they end up blowing a coverage where I think it was Mark Andrews was running down the sideline. Isaiah Rodgers probably was supposed to take him, or Maddox, I don't know. But when the motion happened, Maddox didn't point or do anything. He didn't communicate in any way. So you didn't have that communication going on. Do we lose you there? Not sure what happened, but anyways, that's one of the biggest things with defense is being greater than the sum of your parts, right? Is communicating across the board, using your help defenders. When that happens, that's how good defenses happen. It's not just individual good skill players. Obviously, that helps with the game planning when you got a guy like Quinyon Mitchell who can go and lock up the backside, and then you can flood the front side with 5 defenders over 3 receivers to a trips formation, right? Those things help. But even on that side of the field where you're playing with those 5 defenders over 3 players, you still need good communication. People still need to do their job, right? The old Bill Belichick mantra, do your job, right? If everyone does that, that's when you get really good defenses like we saw from the Philadelphia Eagles this year.
Yeah, I like the you said something. Hold on before I go there. You said something earlier. You said you won't know who it is because we wasn't in the locker room. No, process of elimination. He's off the field and those problems aren't occurring anymore. It was you. You're the problem. Process of elimination.
Yeah.
Now, listen. We've actually been having this conversation in the Eagle community because we've had the conversation about Avonte Maddox, right? Like, it was a lot of conversation of he's top cornerback, whatever number you want to put on the top 5, top 3, top 10, nickel corner when he's on the field. But when he's on the field, right? And then we've been having a conversation about Avonte Maddox. I mean, about his roommate, Dallas Goedert. Are you at that point a little bit where you kind of scoping out a new route in that scenario, or do you think a lot of his injuries, as people, because a lot of people are on one side, so I'll give you the one side. One side is a lot of the injuries just been kind of freak injuries, so we kind of got to give them a pass. And then on the other side, they're like the injuries keep piling up. Will they take a toll? That's kind of what we have.
Yeah, well, number one, he is, if he's not 30, he's very close to it, right? So anytime a player gets to that age, it's like you need to have start thinking about a contingency plan. He has the ability to continue playing well into his 30s, so I'm not truly concerned on that end, but it would still be smart to have a contingency plan. And this is looks like a year where there's going to be a good amount of tight ends in this draft. So, if there's any year if there, I don't know if there's really going to be a better year than going after a tight end in this draft. What they really should have done is 2 years ago, which was also a really good tight end draft, go and get Tucker Kraft in the third round. I would have loved to see that, but I'm more on the side of people are quick to say players are injury prone. We got to remember this is a physical game. These dudes are getting in car crashes every single week. The thing about Goddard, his injuries haven't been like recurring, like the same injury. He hasn't had like an
Right.
ACL tear that's like a degenerative injury that's going to be an issue throughout his career. Most of it's been like broken arms, broken this or that. And it's like just some of the sheer physicality that comes with playing the game. But when he's on the field, he's, my eyes, a top five tight end. And I was talking about this on Twitter last week. It's not like he hasn't it's almost feels like this is what happens on social media, the social mediaification of the world. We take everything to the extreme. If you were to just look at Goddard and through the lens of what people think about him on social media, you would think that this guy has missed half the games in his career. Since he's joined the league in 2018, he played 92 games. George Kittle's played 97. Mark Andrews has played, I think it was 112. So he's obviously played less games than Mark Andrews, but it's not like he's played 40 games, right? It's not like he's missing that much time. His injuries just tend to be the result of him being a pretty physical player, right? And some of those plays where he's trying to extend plays is when he's gotten those injuries. So maybe it's something he'll have to think about. Maybe we sacrifice a few extra yards after the catch on certain plays, and week 5 of the season, if it's second down, versus like if it's third down, it's like, all right, you're doing everything you can to get that first down. But sometimes it might be okay to say, hey, the smart thing here is to, instead of trying to lower my head through 3 guys, all right, just get out of bounds at that point in time, right? So especially as you get older, people tend to, that's when injuries start to pile up a little bit. I'm not one that's ready to give up on Dallas Goedert, but I would definitely look for a tight end in this draft. And when we talk about Avonte Maddox was good when he was on the field, I think we're looking at it through rose-colored glasses back then, at least. I think we overlooked some stuff because he did make some good plays, but he would also have a number of boneheaded plays that we kind of just be like, oh, well, he'll get that fixed. Oh, that's not his fault. It's the coaching and whatnot. But like we talked about, process of elimination, if this has happened over years and years at this point in time, then part of it is on Maddox. So I also think Goddard is just a better at his position than Maddox was at his position as well.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. Like when I was more like, I don't know, I think I gave up on Maddox way early. Like 2022, I kind of was like, all right, um, I can't do the injuries no more, man. And it was the second injury too. Like you were injured on IR, you come back, everybody's excited. We need you in the lineup. We pretty much need you at this point. You come in and it's like instant injury. It's like,
Yeah.
come on, bro. I was done. So when he came back last year, I was his biggest hater. I ain't gonna lie. I hated seeing him on the field. I hated seeing him play. I just was done.
And a big thing too was that when he wasn't on the field, was like they didn't have uh, a guy that could really go in there and just be okay. It was pretty bad, the guys that they were putting out there, so it was even worse. But you, Calcaterra, outside of the blocking, he has provided good plays for this offense. So when Goddard's gone down, he's been able to fill in and make big plays throughout the season, right? So he still provides some level of play that you need. But like you make a good point when he would go down is like they didn't have anyone really that could step up to close to his level of play at that time, So
Uh,
and
going
one other
into
thing too.
oh, go
One
ahead.
other
Go
thing
ahead.
too. Here's the thing with everyone. Here's the thing with injuries. Everyone's injury prone until they're not, right? Saquon Barkley was injury prone until this year. Now he goes off and he has a 2,000-yard season, right? So sometimes it's just happenstance of what happens of playing this very physical and dangerous game, right? Is sometimes you are going to break bones, you're going to sprain an ankle, you're going to get rolled up on things that are just unfortunate. But it's not like Goddard has a JJ Watt back surgery issue where that can really derail your career, or he's torn his Achilles or something like that. I'd be more concerned if that was what happened to him.
So going into this game, obviously Goddard back. He made a pretty good showing in his last game. He wasn't in long. Do you think this is a game where he kind of has a bigger role? Because I kind of felt like he could maybe use his ability to maybe manipulate a guy like Edwin Cooper in some leverage situations. I seen you talk about it before, how he needed to get outside, so he kind of played it and then used his body and his arm to kind of move the cornerback inside. Do you see him having a game this week?
I mean, it's all about where the ball ends up going. I don't like we see week in and week out. If AJ, Devontae, and Goddard are on the field, he's going to be the third option. But it's just about being efficient when he has his opportunity. So he'll probably get somewhere between 4 to 6 targets, is my guess. I don't think we're going to go out there and see him get 10, 11 targets in the game. If that ends up happening, then there's probably a bigger issue somewhere else where maybe AJ Brown's knee injury is a little bit more important than we realize, or they're just doing something to completely take away him and Devontae. But the beautiful thing is they have guys that can step up if they are trying to take away AJ, or if Devontae's back tightness is something that limits him throughout the game. If he has to step up and be the guy, he can go out there and make plays, right? So I imagine he's probably going to make a couple plays that are big plays in the game. Is he going to take over the game? Probably not. We just haven't seen him get the target share necessary to take over whenever they have all three guys in the lineup, plus Saquon Barkley now. And add into it, I imagine Jalen Hurts is probably going to be running the ball a little bit more than we typically see during the regular season as well.
I mean, it's almost 100 people in here. We appreciate all y'all for tapping in. If you haven't yet, man, go to the description. Nick Waters, Philly Film Room Podcast, Philly Films on Twitter. Tap in with him, man. He just dropped 2 good videos on what we got coming up. A little slight preview, and then he dropped a new video yesterday, right?
Yeah, yesterday I did a schematic preview. We did skill position preview. Today, tomorrow, we are dropping offensive line, defensive line preview, and then that'll be it until game time.
So yeah, man, tap in, like, comment, subscribe, man. Ding the bell on his page too, because look, he's changing up the page. He's changing the schematic. You're gonna get more content. So you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. So tap in, man. Make sure y'all get that. You know what I mean? But listen, it's 90 of y'all. So run the likes up. Run the likes up on this video. Share it out to people, man. Let all the Eagle fans get in here, man. We just trying to enjoy Wild Card weekend on a Friday night. Getting ready to watch some college football, So we talking birds, man. But appreciate y'all for tapping in.
Yeah, Ian just made a good comment too. These two teams are extremely similar. I agree with that in terms of like they both want to pound the rock. They're both physical teams, both good defenses. They're very similar in a lot of ways. Schematically, they're a little bit different, especially with what LaFleur likes to do. But in terms of stylistically, like who they want to be as a football team, a lot of similarities between these two teams. So it'll be an interesting one to see. It's going to be a slugfest for sure. I think it'll be a physical game, like we saw in the Steelers game. The Steelers were hitting. I think you're going to see that in this game between the Eagles and the Packers, and ultimately whoever's tougher and can win that physicality battle is who I think wins this game.
It'll be us. Listen. I ain't gonna lie. I've been watching like the post-practice interviews with the players, and I'm just like, they seem so ready, bro. It's almost like magical because like obviously I watched all of them last year just to see the energy shift from last year to this year. Just how like people are like and I don't care. Like they were talking about, I forgot. I think they asked somebody about like they all pro. It's like, look, I'm just trying to get back to football. I'm trying to get a win. I'm trying to get to week 2 of the playoffs. Like, yeah, that was cute. We've done that before. Like, it's kind of like that. That's the vibe to me. Like I get from AJ, that I get from Jalen, that I get from the guys that were here for a long period of time that went to the 2022 Super Bowl. Like, all this is cute. All this is cool.
Yeah.
It don't matter.
And
I know how it feels to lose.
Right. And it's important to remember that this Packers team is the youngest team in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure this was a stat. They were the youngest playoff team ever, or second youngest playoff team ever. The first youngest playoff team ever was the Packers last year.
Last year.
So it's a young team overall, whereas the Eagles have a lot of veterans at a lot of key positions. They have some young players at key positions as well.
We're the youngest defense in the league, though.
But yeah, who we are?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we definitely have young players at key positions, on the defensive side of the ball. But when you have that overall veteran leadership at the top, you have a coach who's been here in the playoffs 3 times in a row now, and Nick Sirianni. You got guys like Vic Fangio, who's been in the league forever, coached up multiple number 1 defenses now at 3 different stops with the 49ers, with the Bears, and now with the Eagles, right? So, they got a lot working in their favor in terms of like some of the intangible stuff.
Once Brandon Graham went out, we now have starting lineup. We have the youngest defense in the NFL and the 6th youngest roster in the NFL. I think our average age is 26, 6 months, something like that.
Yeah.
It's not bad, though. To be where we at right now, the 6th youngest team in the NFL. Window definitely open. Got to capitalize.
Who knows, man? It might get a little. I hate to say this, might get a little younger next year if Zach Bond isn't back on the team.
No, he got to be back.
He's probably got.
Hey, listen, if Zach Bond ain't extended, I'm pulling up the NovaCare, man. I got to pull up. I got to talk to Howie. What's going on?
I don't know, man. The longer it goes on, it's like, I mean, at a certain point in time, you realize they're probably not going to sign him during the season, but I don't know. You just start to get the feeling that.
Hey, now that would be a nice one. I didn't think about what you just said a little bit, Nick, but that would be a nice boost to morale going into the first playoff game. If like somehow today or tomorrow they announced a Zach Bond extension,
right?
That'll make my day at least. I don't know about a lot of people, but that'll make my day.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't think they're probably not wanting to deal with contract negotiations right now. Add all that extra stuff on top of like trying to get ready for the playoffs right now. But yeah, that would definitely be a morale boost. But like you said, man, these guys are ready. They are itching to go. You heard Nakobe Dean. I saw a clip of him talking about how he's seeing clips of all of his boys on the beach somewhere or out in Miami, and then he's getting ready to try and go win a ring, right? So
he told him
he's got to look prepared. And
what he said, I told him it's all nice. He said something about like they out there having fun. He was like, I'm out here getting to work trying to get this ring. I'm in the cold. I'm padded. But hey, is that a big issue though? Because I see a lot of the players talking about us having that padded practice. Is that something we normally don't do in the playoffs?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. It's not something that I've written down with what they do, but they did have a lot of their starters had last week off, or it was they probably pretty much just did like the individual period of practice, which is like 15 minutes of practice, if that. So it was pretty much a rest week for a lot of the starters. So I feel like they probably wanted to get the pads popping a little bit as this week started. And again, this is, I'm sure, a big part of what Sirianni was talking about this week is whoever's the more physical team is going to be the team that wins. And I'm sure he wanted to kick that off with, some padded practices this week. But, I feel like some of these guys probably have a little chip on their shoulder too. I don't know if you saw Lane Johnson. I don't know if Lane posted it on his locker or someone else posted it on his locker, but the stats of him compared to Sewell and not getting that first team.
I want that matchup.
That's a I feel like just a little extra chip on your shoulder is what this team needs.
I want that matchup though. I need that one. Everybody's saying but I've seen like 3 or 4 people that are prominent in the content world. Like, I don't think the Eagles can beat Detroit in Detroit. I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, oh, and then he's on the Raw room. What's the dude named Dunlap? King Dunlap or whatever his name is. He's like, I don't think Jalen Hurts, if they put it on his hands, can win a game in Detroit. Like, if he was in Philly, maybe, but in Detroit, I don't think he can do it. I'm like,
Yeah, man. It's I I feel like the content creators out there, like you listen to like the Acho talk, and a bunch of people. I feel like they know that how to get views, and part of getting views is be controversial and say stuff. Now, if we're talking about like if you want to go out there, and I understand like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen are better quarterbacks than Jalen, but to say Jalen can't go here and win when he's beaten Josh Allen, he's beaten Lamar Jackson, he's beaten Patrick Mahomes, right? He beat Mahomes in Arrowhead. You know what I'm saying? Like he can go and beat any team, and this team can beat any team. They can match up. The thing with playing on the road and playing playoff football is physicality transfers anywhere. You're being stout and strong in the trenches, your size, like that stuff carries with you. It's generally things like, some of those fast teams that all of a sudden have to go play on grass now, or those quarterbacks that don't have the best arm in the world, they have to go play out in the cold in January. It's like that stuff, there's issues on that end. But teams that are physical, play sound football, good assignments, uh, that stuff carries whether you're playing on the road or you're playing at home. But man, I think a lot of the content stuff is just like they know how to get views. Part of their game is getting views. Acho said it too, that he'll lie to get views, so it's like that's just what they do.
yeah, they paid to do it. I mean, obviously they paid to do a job. You said something there, and okay, Nick, I know you an analyst. You know, you do a lot of work, but I'll take Jalen over Josh Allen 10 times out of 10.
Yeah. Well, I respect it. Rolling with your guy, I respect
Nah,
it.
it's not. It's nothing to do with Jalen being my quarterback. I if you look at it quarterback for quarterback, outside of this year where Josh Allen has cleaned up the turnovers, Josh Allen to me is a risk taker, right? In moments he's a risk taker, but he's also an emotional bomb. When you're in tough moments, he can bring the team down. I've seen him make a mistake and then just go over there and like spaz out. You know, he's having like one of those moments like and it's like you know what it does to your offense, and then you come out and you don't come out with what seems to be more confidence or a short term memory. You come out pressing from that last interception, which causes you to throw another interception. I watched you pretty much do things. I'm just like, Josh, why do that? Like, take the check down, take the easier play, throw it out of bounds. Like those things that Jalen Hurts does that aggravates the average fan, I respect as an ex-player because yeah, you could force it. You could put the defense back on the field because you felt like you could make the throw, even though more than likely you seen it. You knew it was a risky throw because you're an elite quarterback, you're top of the class. You knew making that throw was a 50-50 shot. You took it, which I don't like the risk sometimes. Like, and then sometimes he does it in like the worst moments, bro. Like, don't combine bad with bad. No, I don't. I
Yeah.
didn't say Jalen Hurts takes checkdowns. I said he throws it out of bounds. He'll scroll out, and if he could, I've seen plays where I'm like, is he really gonna take that shot? The AJ, he's like, nah, I'm good. We can live to the next down. But if that was Josh, I got a cannon. I'm finna put it up there. If it gets picked, oh well, type deal.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go with you there. I mean, I'd still, if I had to take one for one, I'm probably taking Josh Allen, but I do understand that, especially when things can avalanche with him sometimes, where he throws one interception and then he'll throw a second or a third. He'll start pressing a little bit. I do wonder to a degree, is some of the issues to do with the fact that he might feel like he needs to put up points and be a little bit more aggressive, and also he's got insane arm talent. He probably has a confidence to think he can fit passes into windows when, it doesn't work out. But I don't know. At a certain point, you're splitting hairs. I would take either guy on the team, obviously. But I think you're probably for the most part going to be out on your own on the Hurts over Allen. But I could see your point.
I can. Hey, listen. It ain't just me. It ain't just me. It's a bunch of us that would take Josh over Jalen. I mean Jalen over Josh.
I would say probably if we did a poll, the majority of people are gonna take Josh.
Because it's flashy though. It's the look. Josh is gonna try to run somebody over. Josh is gonna hurdle somebody. Josh is gonna do the 360. He's gonna do the 360 out of a sack and throw a 60-yard bomb. He's gonna do that. So obviously, yeah, the optical evidence says I'm taking Josh because I like what I see. Jalen's business casual. Tell me, think about this. If we did a poll right now on a business casual suit versus the Versace velvet suit, most people are gonna be like, I like the velvet because it looks better. The game jumps out to you. Oh man, you see what Josh Allen did? He threw the ball and then he realized his player wasn't gonna get it, so he ran up there and got it tossed back to him on a lateral play. Like, stuff like that Jalen doesn't do that makes the average fan go, man, I ain't never seen that before. Jalen's just like, let me get these yards. Let's get in the field goal range, a touchdown. Let's win the game. I don't care how it looks.
Yeah, I think Josh does a little bit more of the stuff you want out of a quarterback that isn't super flashy than you'd expect. But I mean, the thing is, he makes so many of those flashy plays is that's what gets thrown up on the highlights all the time, you know. But you know, in terms of like getting through his progressions, resetting, and getting to the other side of the field, I think he does a good job with that. Especially when I was going through and doing the preview of the game last year, was like there is a difference between watching these quarterbacks in my eye. But I can understand, especially if you are a guy that wants to, you know, one of the biggest things to winning is not turning the ball over. Jalen hasn't turned the ball over one time since the bye week, and that was the Dallas Cowboys game in Week 10. No turnovers since then, right? So, or at least no interceptions, I should say. He did have I know a fumble he lost against the Steelers, you know, but for the most part, he has taken the care of the ball better than Josh Allen has throughout the majority of his career.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, yeah, like you said, you splitting hairs. It's just like with me, turnovers is like one of my biggest things, and that was always my problem with like Peyton Manning, Brett Favre. Those guys just didn't. I mean, Brett really didn't care. Brett didn't. You know, you ever heard J.R. Smith say, "I never thought I'd seen a bad shot."
Yeah, it's
Brett Favre has never seen a bad throw. Triple coverage, quadruple coverage, falling to the ground. But I mean, obviously, like the flash though. When you like
a Packers season used to not end until Brett Favre threw an interception. You know, that used to be how their season ended, right? But yeah,
we gotta play them this week, man. The Packers are, you know, storied franchise.
Well, and now you look at Jordan Love. He had been putting the ball in harm's way a lot through the first 12 weeks of the season. He had 13 turnover-worthy plays in the first 12 weeks of the season. You also got to take out he didn't play weeks 2 and 3 because he got injured at the end of the Eagles game. But since from week 13 on, he has 0 turnover-worthy plays. So he's been taking care of the ball a lot better as well. So you got 2 quarterbacks that have been taking care of the ball a lot better as the season has progressed. It'll be interesting to see who wins the turnover battle. You look at the Packers defense. They have, I think, 31 turnovers, 3rd or 4th in the league. And it's not like it's just all interceptions. They have their 3rd in interceptions and 3rd and 4th in fumble recoveries, right? So it's like, to me, that's a mark of a good defense. A team that's flying to the ball, getting a lot of punch outs, but then recovering them as well. You know, when passes get tipped in the air, another guy's there to intercept it. You know, that effort, that pursuit from a defense is how you get turnovers. You don't just luck into 31 turnovers in a season from a bad defense. So that'll be a key to watch is, you know, who wins a turnover battle this week.
Hey, it was a matchup. I know it's a regular season matchup. When you said it in my head to say like the 2 quarterbacks aren't turning the ball over. Do you remember that Cooper Rush versus Jalen? Like I want to say that was 2022.
Yeah, Rush had like 3 interceptions
But he came in the game with like no turnovers, no turnover worthy plays. He was playing like, and Jalen was like on the same trajectory. They were like in the same realm of not turning the ball over. Then Cooper Rush comes in and throws 3. And when you said it in my head, I'm like, I remember us playing a game like this before, even though it's the playoff. Yeah. Jordan
Don't you
Love,
think that?
when the running game is working, he's not prone to turnover. The running game is flowing. He's getting good. He's the play action is flowing. He's not prone. But when they make him traditional drop back and he start doing that fade away throw that he likes to do, that's when he becomes prone. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the last 5 or 6 weeks, I think Jacobs has been on a pretty good tear of running the rock.
Yeah, they've also played a lot of their games have been against some bad run defenses. The games that in which they've won, or they were playing like a 49ers team that had no Brock Purdy at quarterback, things like that. So those things also help. But now he goes against this Eagles defense who I didn't check their stats after the Giants game, but leading into that Giants game, since the bye week, they were allowing the least amount of yards per carry on designed runs, right? So you match up with a defense like the Eagles, and you start to put them in long down and distance situations, like we talked about earlier, getting them to third and medium, third and long. That's when Jordan Love starts to throw off his back foot. He starts to hold the ball a little bit longer. He starts to put the ball in harm's way. That'll be key, winning the early downs, winning the turnover battle, winning the physicality battles is where this game is going to come down to.
Yeah, we've been. I'm 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 truly shocked though. I don't know about you, but from where we came from last year to where we at now, I'm completely shocked. Do you think we can
Yeah,
play five down if we need to?
yeah, they're going to play five down, and they're going to play. You'll see them move to their 6-1 fronts for sure, especially with what the Packers like to do on offense. They're getting into a lot of pony personnel. Two running back sets. They do have like this package that they're using with Jaden Reed. That's essentially like a single wing offense, right? A lot of
He's
misdirection.
almost like a
Or
back, right? He's almost
yeah,
like a back in that play.
yeah, they use a lot of misdirection on that. Or if it's not misdirection, they're trying to overload one side with blockers, right? But I do imagine that they're going to play um, with 5 and 6 down in this game. And then you look back in their first game against the Packers. Reed Blankenship got his interception after Zach Bond shifted from a 4 down front to a 5 down front. Then he drops back into coverage. Jordan Love didn't expect him to be there. He puts a little bit more air under the ball, and Reed's able to come in and get an interception, right? So yeah, I think we'll see some of that in this game. And then you look back at that first game as well. Number one, it was like an ice rink out there. That field, I don't know if everyone remembers. That field was horrible. Saquon slipped on his first carry of
It's
the
built for
season
soccer,
here.
right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what was going on with that field, right? But
Well, how much you know about soccer, Nick?
I know that people play it, you know.
They over so when you play on a soccer field, it's overly hydrated because they do all that sliding and stuff.
Uh,
So
Interesting.
they like compared to what they do for an NFL field, it's almost like 3 times the water.
Interesting. I did not know that. Well, maybe they'll think about that next time they try and put, the best team in the league on that field. But that keeps happening with the Eagles. They keep putting us on slick fields in primetime matchups. I don't know what the deal is with that. But even looking at that game, their front wasn't playing as good as they're playing now. Fangio, he still does this. So he slants his line, does a lot of line movement, but they were doing it to a big degree in the first game. Whereas I think they have the front to sit there and beat people physically, eat double teams instead of trying to penetrate with line movement. I think we'll see a little bit more of that. Also, add to that as well, when you get line movement, there's times where your run fits can get a little confusing, especially once they start pulling offensive linemen, and the Packers will pull a lot of offensive linemen. You saw times when, like the Jaden Reed touchdown, Reed Blankenship probably needed to trigger downhill on the Jaden Reed rushing touchdown. There was a play CJ was rotating down out of the roof to fit into the run, and he just didn't fit properly. There was plays where they got from what they were trying to do with the line movement. They were able to get a run through for their linebacker for Zach Bond on the second level to come clean and get an unblocked tackle, right? But he just hesitated. A lot of that was these guys playing their first game of the season, their first game under a new coordinator, right? So when they do use their line movement, I think it'll be they'll be more sound in that stuff too. And I think one thing to watch as well, they use a lot of jet motion, a lot of orbit motion, a lot of like quick side to side motion, trying to out leverage you to the flat. We've seen throughout certain games this season where they're going to travel Cooper DeJean with that motion across the field. Go back and watch that game in week one. They hardly did that. I think out of 40 snaps of motion, not all of them were like a jet sweep type of motion, but in 40 snaps, I think Maddox only traveled twice. And I think they were both on third down when you're less likely to get like a jet sweep to out leverage you to the flat. So you're going to see like the second level defenders bumping over. So you'll see times when Cooper DeJean is going to be in the run fit because they're going to try and motion him out and get, motion one of the safeties out of the run fit or one of the linebackers out of the run fit. Cooper DeJean brings that where he can play in the box. He can play the run game well. He understands where he fits, right? So watch that as well to see how the Eagles try and match up with the Packers motion. Are they traveling someone? Are they rotating the safeties down? Are they bumping the second level defenders with the motion? That's something to pay attention to.
It felt like that's kind of what we were trying to do earlier in the season. We didn't got away from it now because we're so aggressive. We don't need the orbits. I think because we trying to get downhill so fast. But I do like how they do kind of get your eyes moving. You know what I mean? They get you looking one way. Then it's almost like instant. He gets into his spot and then the ball is like boom. And Josh Jacobs is coming out the other end on a zone play out other side of the field. And everybody's looking that way. If you're not disciplined, he's probably, easy 10, 15 yards on the other side. If not home run.
They'll do things like watching that Bears game, which was a little tough to like. If you watch just the last Bears game against the Packers and look at their run game, and it's like, wow, this Packers run game is the best in the world. But it's also like, man, that was a bad Bears. Even though they ended up winning, it was like there were times when like Jalen Johnson wasn't like he needed to fill, in the box, and it was like he was going to punch the ball out. He wasn't sticking his face in there, right? So, but there was certain plays where it's like they would motion Jaden Reed across. You see the linebackers bump over. A nickel that wasn't in the run fit is now in the run fit. A safety that was supposed to be in the run fit is now out of the run fit. Then he comes back and reverses motion. Then they all have to shift back again. And then you have a tight end slicing across, which then forces everyone to have to bump back over, fall back a gap as essentially they're moving your extra gap from one side of the ball to the other side of the ball, right? So they force you to constantly move your eyes and adjust which gap you're supposed to be fitting in. And then, sometimes they'll use it'll be a zone run, split zone run. Sometimes they'll pull two offensive linemen, or they'll pull a lineman and a tight end, and now you have to bump two gaps over. So they do a lot of stuff to try and mess with your eye discipline. If I looking at all the teams that we've prepared for this year, I would say the Packers do the best job by far of trying to create confusion with your eyes, with messing with your keys. I would say the Commanders do a good job of that as well, but by far the Packers do the best of that. But the most important thing is all of that doesn't mean anything if you're getting beat up front, if you're getting out physical. If you can constrict gaps with your defensive line up front, then all that stuff doesn't really matter at that point in time. And the Eagles have guys up front that can really clog lanes and make it tough to run inside.
Yeah, I look at it. I look at the matchup, and it's like I was just looking at the defensive stats. They obviously have a good run defense, also.
My light went out.
I think if you look at that game, bro, I think that's probably the sloppiest game we had as a team. Like defensively, quarterback play. I think that was like the sloppiest game we had. We had some bright spots, but like Jalen threw like one of the worst picks I've ever seen him throw in that game, bro. Like Devontae Smith is on a vert, and he's like, "Yeah, let's try." It's like,
and look back at that play too. None of the linemen were set. It was like 3rd and 15. They were on like their 6-yard line. None of the linemen were set. And I think the snap was wrong, and I think Jalen just panicked and just threw it up. Obviously you don't want to see that, but it's just one of those things. Just one of those plays you want back. Obviously you don't want to make again, but we'll see. Right. Let me see if I can fix this light real quick. I think my thing overheated real quick. But while I'm fixing that real quick, it'll take me 2 seconds. What do you think is like the biggest who's a guy that we need to take away on offense, on their offense the most?
All right, outside of Josh Jacobs, um, I would say I least I don't even know. Jaden Reed hasn't really been effective lately. The one guy I would have took was Christian Watson, but he's out. I would say I'd probably go back to Jaden Reed. I think he's going to get some of the higher target rates this year. This game, I'm talking about this year. This game, he's the fast guy. He's the glitchy guy. I don't think he's really been a part of their game plan since I think his best game was against us the first time. So I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to remake some of that magic. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and well, here's the thing with Reed is he gets a lot of work in zone coverage. I do imagine they're going to try and scheme up some ways to get him open, but they haven't done, if you look at their yards per attempt against man coverage with Christian Watson on and off the field, it's like a 4 yard per
Yeah,
attempt difference, which is
I think you said 7.6 to 3.9 or something like that.
yeah, and it's like Jaden Reed is getting a lot of his work against zone coverage. I feel like they can take some of that, if he does start to kill them against zone, which I don't really expect him to. He might get a play here or there, but they've just been so good passing off their coverages in zone. I think they should be able to do a good job with him. The thing that scares me a little bit is him and the run game. With some of the stuff they can do, is pretty crazy. So I wonder how that that's one thing that scares me is him hitting a big play on the ground with some of their misdirection stuff that they do.
Yeah, that's why that's kind of where I'm at with it too. I wasn't even, really like that. How they misdirection, they do little pop passes and all types of stuff to Reed, and he fast, bro. I mean, if you miss wrong angle, I think CJ on that first one that he scored on the end around, I think it was a bad angle by CJ. He missed the wrong gap. He go right by him. It's like I don't think we play that bad anymore. Yeah, I don't think our run fits as you just said. I don't think they're as bad anymore as they were. I think it was a lot of, to me, just like you said, CJ, when his eyes are disciplined, he plays well. But when he's getting a little greedy, he's trying to figure out what's going on. He recognizes the play too late, and it's like almost right up on him. And it's like, oh, yeah. I didn't see that. Yeah. Like even with the tackles, like the missed tackles, it almost felt like he didn't see the guy until he seen the guy, and it's like, okay, I gotta go make a tackle. But it's like now you're full speed, you have no structure, you have no breakdown. You're just trying to go run and grab him. It didn't work. And if you go back and look at the first 4 weeks, it's a lot of embarrassing tape on CJ.
Yeah.
But
they got a lot of it got cleaned up though, especially tackling wise, and part of the things you get with a guy like that is like you'll get those big hits, right? You'll get those like the hit against the Panthers. You get the hit against like one of the biggest ones against Isaiah Pacheco in the Super Bowl, right? You get some of these. He had big stops on, was it the Falcons game? He had a big 4th down stop, or it might have been the Saints game. It might have been
Bijan met him in the hole, 4th and 1.
Yeah, so it's he gives you some of that stuff when you can play. He's a physical player for sure, but sometimes you end up missing tackles as well. I think the important thing to understand is like for him is when you're making those tackles, it depends on the situation, right? Are you the last line of defense? Well, you probably need to be a little bit more conservative. But like Sidney Brown missed a tackle last week. I was okay with it, right? Because he was flying down and tackling with leverage. So if he missed the tackle, he's forcing the runner back into the pursuing defense, right? There's a lot of coaches out there that don't coach you to slow down and chop your feet and break down. They want you to pierce and go and go downhill right away, especially knowing that a lot of these guys, like especially in the NFL and in college, like they are gonna make you miss a good amount of the time, right? So if they're gonna make you miss anyways, your best bet is to try and go and play fast, right? So just understanding when you can go all out and when you do need to be a little bit more conservative with your tackling is an important thing.
Hey, sleepless night. Xavier Legette said that was his welcome to the NFL moment.
Well, it's funny. There's 2 welcome to the NFL moments in that game because Cooper DeJean said Adam Thielen gave him his welcome to the moment in that game as well.
I
Interesting.
did, I kind of said that too. I kind of said like this would be the. I know a lot of people probably thought I was like tripping, but I was like, this is gonna be the moment where I kind of see what Coop had, because Adam Thielen is a crafty vet. He
Yeah.
knows how to use his feet, his hands, his eyes, everything to throw you off. He I've seen him like know the ball is coming to him. You see the ball throw. He doesn't turn his head to the ball until the last second, and he's like, wham! And you're like, did he see
Yeah.
it coming? Uh, Matter of fact, like the week before we played him, he's like running a route. Bryce throws it, and he's like running away from the ball, but you could tell he kind of knew it was coming. He just like turned around one hand. I'm
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's that crafty veteran stuff, man. It's like, when he's got that old man game, or even when your athleticism declines, like he still knows how to set you up with tempo, with leverage, with his body. He can use his
true.
physicality to create separation, things like that. And then if you have good hands, you don't just lose that. You don't just wake up one day and all of a sudden you can't catch. That's a skill you can take with you forever,
You might lose
But
speed, but you don't lose them hands.
right. And then
Um,
go ahead.
I was going to ask you what was a key for you on, but we kind of got through some. We got through most of the keys already.
Yeah, I think we touched on pretty much everything. One thing we haven't touched on though is uh is Jake Elliott going to have to step up and make a big kick, and is he going to be able to do that? And then also add into it is, we've seen a couple punts from, Braden Mann's been good for, at certain spots, but he's a little streaky too as well. There's
Yeah,
times where he'll have some bad punts, right? So field position is going to be big. Making kicks is going to be big. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Packers missed a kick in the first game when we played them, right? And now they have a new kicker that's kicking for them. So it could come down, and especially in the playoffs. This is when this stuff matters the most because these games are going to be tight when you're playing the best teams in the league. Being able to make some of these field goals, I can't say I'm very confident in Jake Elliott.
level of confidence 1 to 10, 50 plus yards, game on the line.
How many 50+ yard field goals has he made this year? There you go. That's my number. I mean,
Bro, listen. Somebody was like, they gave me two scenarios. It was yesterday on my pod. It was like, okay, so 50 plus in Detroit in the dome. I'm like 20%. They like, all right, 50 plus at home. I was like, somewhere at the bottom of percentages you can get. I don't have
yeah,
like, and they're like, I'm confident. And I asked them a question. I mean, they gave me an answer, but I still felt like it was more an Eagle fan answer, even though I got respect for both of the guys I had a conversation with. But I asked them if there was any other kicker that was 1 for 7 from 50, would you bet money on it? Would you be confident that at 50 plus he's making that? And they're like, you've seen him do it before. I'm like, understandably, I've seen him do it in other years, but this year, prevalently, the one we are in right now, he's 1 for 7.
yeah. And it's a weird thing. It's like a mental thing. You see this with golfers too. Even good golfers, they'll go through periods where they struggle, and it's probably something with the mental aspect of the game. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know a whole lot about kicking. I know absolutely nothing about
Nothing.
form and whatnot. But
Nothing.
it does seem like kickers can go through periods where, they even when they make it, they're not confident that they're making them. The one of the kickers for the Indianapolis Colts, I was reading an article, a couple months ago talking about back during the Peyton Manning days, how he was making a lot of kicks, and he was like, that was the worst year of my career because he was like, I didn't feel confident that any kick was going to go in, right? So it just might be one of those things where it's just a down year for Jake Elliott. They probably bring in someone for competition next year, and then hopefully he can work on whatever he needs to work on in the offseason because we've seen him be one of the most clutch kickers in the NFL when he's on. But when you're off, it's not like going to the playoffs all of a sudden it's going to get easier for you. No, you ramp up the pressure and the difficulty, and it's like, and especially playing at home when our fans are going to let you know pretty quick when they're upset with you, right?
Oh, the Boo Birds if he miss.
Yeah,
My God.
yeah, Yeah,
I want to have confidence, Nick. I really do. Like, I don't want to sit here and be like, Jake's never done it. But it's like this year, it's hard to say I'm confident. It really is.
yeah. Yeah, we got a question in the comments, and I think we should probably wrap it up pretty
Yeah.
soon after that because I got to go and get ready before the Longhorns make their march to the national championships. But their general defense question: how complex offensive play calling is? How does defensive play calling look? Usually, defensive play calls are pretty simple. It's you're being told the front, you're being told if there's a blitz or maybe a stunt, and then the coverage, and then you might have a check in there. So if they come out and trips, we all like when I played, we always had our base coverage, and then we'd have a couple of checks that we'd have for trips, for trips formations throughout the game that we'd want to go to. So it'd be check this, blah blah blah, cover three, check, cover six, blah blah blah, cover three, check, man coverage, whatever our calls were, right? So pretty much every call had a check with it, um, unless it was a call that our coordinator thought was good versus everything. And then you have empty checks as well. So sometimes you don't even have a play. Like if a team comes out empty, your play call just gets called off entirely, and you're going to your 3 or 4 empty checks that you've come into the game with. But even then, sometimes the coach will be like, he might have a call, like a word, and they're saying that we're going to lock this play no matter what, even if they come out and empty, right? So it's generally not as complex as offenses are. And to be honest, man, I feel like offenses make their play calling way too complex to begin with. It doesn't need to be all these words that they're throwing in there, But I was a defensive guy, so I always, had a little disdain for offensive guys a little bit.
But them offensive plays are longer than Harry Potter book, man.
Yeah. Right.
But nah, man, we at the 1 hour and 7 minute mark, man. We got 116 people on here. We appreciate everyone for tapping in with us. If you're on the X or the YouTube side, like, comment, subscribe. In the description of the page is both of Nick's YouTube and Twitter. If you want to tap in with him, feel free. He's over there with great weekly content. He's ramping it up. He's ramping it up, man. And he's here with us every Friday. So y'all should go show some support. Leave some comments, man. He's got some good videos. He's giving out great content, man. I watch. You should watch with me. Anything you got for the people before we get out of here, Nick?
Man, I don't really have a pep talk for this week, but I'm just excited to see this game. Should be an Eagles victory. Should be a fun game, though. Should be a physical game. We should see a lot of hitting in this game. Whoever's a more physical team, the team that doesn't turn the ball over, that can win the line of scrimmage, is going to be the team that wins this game. And of course, before we get out of here, got to give the old horns up, baby.
Well, tonight he played Ohio State. I have Ohio State. He has Texas. Maybe next Friday he'll be rubbing the crow into me and telling me how I was wrong for picking against his team. But hey, man, one game at a time, one win at a time. Let's go Eagles. Fly Eagles, fly go Birds. Until next time, man. Peace.
Yo, Philly fam, I'm back.